Welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Lori LeBay, and welcome back to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm thrilled you're able to join us today. And if you liked our opening music, it's called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band, and you can find that on any of your favorite music platforms. For those of you that are new to our show, Alzheimer's Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. We like to have real conversations with real people to know what's going on all around the world. So maybe, just maybe, you can be our next guest. I would absolutely love to talk with you and learn more about your story, product, service, or tool. Or maybe it's just an idea and it hasn't been pushed forward yet. And watch for our open mics because you can call in on the last minute anytime we're doing those as well. So I want to do a couple of shout outs. First, I'm really excited. I'm going to be doing 2 in-person screenings of the film A Timeless Love down in Winona, Minnesota for their dementia-friendly community week. And that will be April 7th at 6:30, which is a Thursday, and then Friday, April 8th at 1 p.m. And you can get more information by calling 507-454-5212. In addition, I continue to do Arthur's Memory Cafe, which is sponsored by Arthur Senior Care, the second and the fourth Wednesday of each month at 1 p.m. Central. And anyone is able to join us on that because that is virtual at this time. In addition, Brookdale North Oaks has me facilitating a Caregiver Connect, which is a support group for caregivers, which typically meets in person at the Shoreview Parks and Rec Center, their community center, at 10 a.m. on the last Wednesday of each month. I also want to give a shout out to the ALZ authors. If you are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, you'll want to check out the alzauthors.com. They're a global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience. And they have the most comprehensive collection of hundreds of carefully vetted books and blogs covering all types of dementia and caring situations. Their authors' personal stories and painful learned lessons can help you on your own journey. They also offer a fabulous podcast called Untangling Alzheimer's and Dementia, which you can find on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And they want you to remember, you're not alone. One can sing a lonely song, but they choose to form a choir and create harmony. So go check them out at alzauthors.com. I wanted to also let you know about Dementia Map. I'm so proud of this. This has been a want of mine for decades. And Dave Wiedrich, who has the Memory Cafe directory for 5 different countries, and myself collaborated together to pull together Dementia Map, which is a global resource directory that also has an events calendar, a blog, glossary of terms. We have 150 different categories you can search, and it's building out every single day. So if you're looking for information, please go to dementiamap.com. You don't have to sign in, give us any information. And if you have a service, product, or tool that you would like featured, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to give you a personal tour. Otherwise, you can go up to the main header where it says Join Dementia Map, and you will get instructions on how to proceed from there. It is time to introduce you to our guests. I'm really excited because engagement is so important when it comes to people living with dementia and our seniors in general. And COVID has really pointed out the importance of engagement. I am so excited to have Sean Geehan with us. He is the CEO and founder of the Geehan Group. Sean is known as a thought leader and an innovator. His insights and success have landed him keynotes at many of the conferences, and he's been featured on NPR and a guest lecturer at various prestigious universities as well. Sean has more than 30 years of extensive cross-industry experience and a decade in the healthcare sector in and of itself, which is focused on innovation and strategy. He is committed to helping crack the code for seniors and for those who are independent, to those who are living in late-stage dementia. And he does this by applying his unique combination of experience to improve overall quality of life for impact. So today we're going to be talking with Sean about MemaRang, which helps people engage in a full, dignified fashion. So Sean, I am just so excited to have you, with us on the show today. I was so honored you sent me out your MemaRang case. Basically it's a suitcase, guys, on wheels, and all of the fun games in there. I had the opportunity to play with my granddaughters and stuff at home, and we just thoroughly enjoyed it. So I can't wait to be able to elevate your voice on what you've put together here, because I really do think it's very, very special.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about sharing the story, and your feedback and others were just tremendous as we developed this product.
Well, great. Well, I always start out by asking my guests if they've been personally touched by dementia in their own family or extended family circle of friends. And so can you just tell us kind of where you're sitting with all of that?
Sure. I can say, like most of us, we've all been touched in one way or another. But I can tell you, in the last 3 years, spending time in these facilities, seeing it on such a regular basis, from whether it's the caregiver, the staff, the family members, or the resident themselves, the impact, you just get blown away by how large of an issue it is and how many people it actually impacts. So absolutely many touch points there.
I totally agree with you there. Well, given your background, which I stated in the introduction, which is nice and diverse, how did you come up with this idea for MemaRang? What I find when I talk with people, usually it's something personal that just hits them, that goes, things got to change.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a combination. We've been around for over 20 years. Our company is known by its innovation. And so realize that a lot of innovations have come into industries from people that didn't have a lot of decades of experience in it. And so you take ideas from other industries and you kind of transport them, so to speak. And we basically were working with assisted living and with school systems in helping protect their environments, around PPP and obviously the COVID days the last couple of years. And through those touch points and going into these facilities, as we just talked about the intro, your eyes just get open and just such a surprise about how big of an impact it is and how many people it actually impacts. And we're thinking, like, is there a difference that can be made here? Is there a way that we could do something here? And so we challenged ourselves to go to work and figure out if we could contribute to, at the end of the day, improving the well-being of those that are impacted by Alzheimer's or dementia and those around them.
Mm-hmm. Which is key, because everybody feels a little bit lost and they're not quite sure how to engage. And that was one of the things I really liked about the kit is, here I was with my 6-year-old and 10-year-old granddaughters. And we could all engage very simply with it, the usability of the products, which we'll get into a little bit later. But, for your goal, was there one set mission statement that you had that you wanted to make a difference on?
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it was really to bring joy, connection, and really overall well-being. We tried to keep it that simple and not try to boil the ocean. But if we could impact those lives, the time that we had that, and maybe there's some carryover effect of that. And we're seeing that, and I'll share some of those stories in a few minutes, but absolutely that's the mission, and that's what drove us. But we had criteria wrapped around that to achieve that particular condition.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love that you kept it simple, because sometimes I think we make things so complicated, and then people go, "Oh, that's a really good idea," and then they go to implement and go, "This is never going to work." It's just too much. It's too overwhelming.
Yeah, we've seen that. I mean, we had, when I went and interviewed a lot of the activity directors or the CNOs or the overall exec directors or the managers of the facilities, we ended up boiling down to 3 criteria that we knew it had to be credible, which means there had to be proof and validation that this solution could work, and it's working. So reminiscence therapy, clearly, it's acceptable practice. There's no doubt about the impact that music can have. And then the second piece was, to your point you just made, is that if people aren't going to use it, who cares if you made it? So it's got to be easy to be used, trained, accessible, and all those pieces for a volunteer to come in 5 minutes of training, get up to speed on it. And also it needs to be simple in the sense of it's bold colors, big, high contrast, large letter, really targeted specifically for this audience. And at the end of the day, the last piece is we want to make people's lives better, bring a smile to their face, some laughter, some joy. And if you can see them visually digging down and have this emotional memory that brings them calmness and peace and joy, we see it all the time when we go out in the field, and it's so exciting, and it's really fulfilling to the calling that that's come about the last couple of years.
Well, and I would say, in addition to all of those things, and again, I want to dive deeper on those, but is the setup and the takedown for the staff. Staff, especially today, are so stretched. Many of them are doing 2 and 3 different jobs. My daughter was, an activities director. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'd go to visit her and her arms would be full and she'd be, maneuvering her way down the hall, for an activity. And you have made everything so compact and so streamlined that it's much easier for the staff or volunteer to initiate and set up. It's just grab the case and go. And to me, that was brilliant in and of itself. Having it on wheels, nothing to lug. It was just real easy and accessible, identifiable, because you've got kind of the little travel badges on the luggage, bag itself and stuff. So it was cute and it was fun and identifiable. So residents or people who are going to participate know, hey, it's kind of time to play. It's time to go have some fun. And I think that was brilliant in and of itself, just the packaging of it and the easeability of it.
Thank you. And that was a lot of work because, originally what's kind of funny, we started with a cardboard box. It was a nice one, but, of course, after a couple of weeks, we took it to PALA, a conference in Pennsylvania for Pennsylvania Assisted Living. And you could tell people like, I love the idea. That box won't last 2 weeks in our facility, and so we had to come back and, a lot of, we had to really have a thick skin and really be absorbing what they were telling us, but we had to keep it easy and simple. And you could throw this new case down the stairway and, just pick it up and use it. But it's very lightweight and durable. But you open that up, and what's interesting is the residents just looking to see all the colors, and they know the colors to the games. And then there's cognitive levels within that, that really somebody doesn't matter what cognitive level that the individual is, or dexterity, et cetera, we can adjust the games. There's guides and videos that'll help you through it.
You've really made it so simple. I was really impressed with it. Why don't we talk about, once you open it up, what's in there and how does this make you different from, other engagement activities that are out there?
So thank you for pulling that up. What we want to do to make it really easy, you can notice that everything's high contrast, bold colors, large letters. But on the left, what we've done is these are for typical seniors to, let's say, early onset or mild dementia. So some of these games, on the bottom one's favorites bingo, and then there's a TV bingo that comes with it now as well. And that's on the back of that card. But just for the favorites bingo, what's interesting about that is when we'll call out television show, and then, at your table, if you're with a small group, depending on the size, you might share what your favorite TV show is, or the first car, your favorite car, dream vacation. So it's really to engage the people around you in that. And then if you, for the music one, it's really interesting is, quite frankly, men are much more difficult to get engaged to come down to the activity center. And so what we did know, we have a 40s and 50s TV show theme song. What we learned from that was, how do we get the men there? Well, you start playing Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Dragnet, they show up. And it's really interesting. They come, and we've got the same folks coming where they haven't communicated with anybody. They've just really they've isolated themselves. And now they're highly engaged. They're singing along with the group. And so we really are careful to mix it up and make sure we're inclusive of everybody. And that's really important. And you have to kind of reach across. But on the same thing, bingo, if you look at the other side, the level 2, the green bingo card, that's for people with more challenge, whether it's cognitive, maybe visual, or they can't read anymore. And so everything there is essentially just pictures within the bingo card that may be a picture of a car or a picture of something. And so we keep it really simple so they can play along, and they're playing it at a different level. And normally, quite frankly, Lori, they have somebody at their table assisting them, whether it be a volunteer or somebody else. But going back to the left side, you have all these games. Sometimes if you break it out, if you're at a smaller group, you can play games like word search, matchup, or crossword. We also have music that goes with those. So for instance, in matchup, we have old kind of big band sounds or like Frank Sinatra and, the something Miller Band, and they'll play the songs and you match the artist with the song, and the music can play in the background. So we have all of these connected to music, even the crossword puzzles, as you have the artist and the song and the movie titles and the theme songs. We have those in Spotify that are easily accessible through this Bluetooth speaker, or you could actually just play it on your phone. And accounts are free at Spotify. You might have a commercial here and there, but at the end of the day, if you have a Spotify account, you can leverage it. And if you don't have a Spotify account, about every 8 songs, you're going to hear a 30-second commercial.
Okay. There's so many games in this suitcase that I think people are really kind of surprised, because like I said, with my granddaughters, when I was kind of testing it with them,
yeah.
I mean, we played for hours. And they wanted to play again. And like, you've got the interview questions and the sharing that can come about with all of that. And it just kind of happens organically, which I think is really sweet too.
Yeah. The interview has been wildly successful. And I can tell you, when somebody does get diagnosed, this interview, you don't think about asking these questions. Now, if you record it, we did with a family member, and recording, asking these, one question sets about their child years, then their teen years, their adult years, and they're fun questions that go beyond. It's like, did you ever get in trouble? As a kid, what was your worst chore that you did, the chore you disliked or whatever, and it's just kind of fun. But essentially you can record those and they have them in perpetuity for your family. And some, have suggested they'll use it for the memorial service. And so it really does have some legs in it and some depth, whether it's the caregiver getting to know this new resident or each other, or essentially the family member really trying to make a connection, multi-generational, between the grandkids and the grandparent. Imagine, how many times we've interviewed some teens that went and they said, well, I talked to grandma for about 10 minutes and then we tell her what we've done. And then after that, we'll watch TV together. I've checked the box for 2 hours, but I walk away not knowing anything more about her. So essentially, this is a simple guideline for somebody to really have meaningful engagement and connection. And the Montessori approach would be that you go take the story wherever they want to go. If they remember this or they have aspirations of that, let that story go, and you'll be so amazed by the turns that it takes, and what you are able to uncover that you never knew before. And we just did this in our own family, and we're just blown away with one of our senior family members that shared this story about how she got in trouble. And it's amazing. It's on video and just for the family to view, and it's just blown people away.
Yeah, well, those precious moments that you never would have known. That just because you don't tell your kids you got in trouble when you were younger, because you don't want them going down that path and stuff. And I remember hearing a couple of those stories with both my parents. And some of them weren't even in trouble. They were just silly, but I never would I have heard them before. And it just brought us all so much joy. The other thing I want to point out is you've got these grease pens in here, and everything is laminated. So it's super easy, especially in times of COVID, to clean, but they're extremely durable. It's not real flimsy. They're like a cardstock, and heavier duty. And I think that was really nice too. And then you have the dice in here, and I'll ask this first, but mine also had a bigger dice. Is that still part of this, or?
It is still part of it. And that picture right there that I pulled up might be, I got like 20 different versions. The die, it's a 20-sided die. It's a lot larger. It's even larger than the red die. That'll be included. You see the small blue one up front, but that it's a lot larger, just so nobody, tries to swallow it. And the other thing we have added is hand sanitizer. That also cleans it, so it actually can clean off each card. It'll take the ink off it, so you can reuse them time and again. So we're really excited about that.
Wonderful. Now, one thing you didn't mention was the caregiver notes, and it's hard to be able to read that. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. And for continuity purposes, you may have we'll put about a few cards in here. Or you can download them as well. That's for free. Anybody can do that. And it has the list of all the games. And so when you go into Charlie and you're playing the game with Charlie, which games, hey, Charlie really loved Knockout and he really loved Roll and Share. If you want to go to and then his sight is a little struggling, so you might want to do the ice on the right side, the level 2 that have larger numbers. If you're going to do a coverall, that's a game that he likes to do. He loves to throw the dice. Also, don't play crossword, don't do this. It really frustrated him. So that really gives you cues, so you know what to stay away from and you know what to start with to give you some quick wins, get the momentum of the games going if you're going to do this in one-on-one or small group.
Okay. And then do you mind, like you talked about the favorite bingo and you talked about the interview, but can you tell people a little bit more about the Roll and Share and the Knockout and kind of go up?
Yeah, absolutely. So talked about the favorites bingo. On the other side is the 40s and 50s. And we do that to music. It's not to name that tune, although we kind of play it like we'll play the song. Does anybody know this one? And it's I Love Lucy. If there's songs like Green Acres, we all sing along, or Mr. Rogers. It's amazing how people would sing along. I usually keep that in our hip. We keep that in our hip pocket for the third or fourth game, because it really does bring everybody up even more so. But as we go up, the Roll and Share and the interview game are the really high interactive get to know somebody, along with the favorites bingo. Those three are designed specifically for a lot of small groups, usually 1 to 4 players at a table to get to know one another. And then if you play it in a large group, that's fine. It's just that you might be limited on, talk to the 2 people around you, share it with them, or if they have an assistant there, they can have a connection. Knockout is one we usually you simply roll the die, and the first person that you take turns rolling the die, covers the all the numbers, they win the game. It's similar to Coverall on the right side, but it's just a little more higher level cognitive structure game. And then the other three on the top, which are essentially the matchup, the crossword, and the word search. Sometimes, people really have a desire for one of those. They want to play them. We have refills for those because those are games that you might want to, you can play. There are 4 of each one of those, and the answers are on the back. But after you've done it a few times, you might build up some memory of it if you especially if you don't have cognitive issues. But then we have refills for those. But these are ones, a lot of times we've even used those if somebody's a little quieter, a little more introverted. It's a way to kind of start in a safe way, let them do something. And as you're hearing the music, hey, Jane, do you really love, Que Sera, Sera by Doris Day? And, did you ever watch a TV show? So it gives you an easy way to get into it without feeling they're being interrogated. If they have a high defense mechanism and anxiety on that, and some, mild cognitive impairment, or early stage dementia can have that, you might want to stay away from that and use some of these other games as tools for entry points to earn that trust and establish a relationship if you happen to be a staff caregiver.
Okay. And then the picture one, that's like a travel.
Sure. That's the monument game, and we monuments, and we will show the picture again using the Montessori. We'll on the front of it, let's just say it has the Mount Rushmore. Does anybody know what this is? Has anybody been there? And then you kind of have some dialogue and conversation around that. Who'd you go with? And then, obviously who the 4 presidents, or do you know how long it took to build and when it got completed? All those fun facts are on the back of the card. So we have that. It's the Statue of Liberty. It's the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial. I mean, all of those really classical. And then we have the St. Louis Archway, Golden Gate Bridge, and some others that just are maybe not all national monuments, but let's just say national icons that people can associate with. And we've gotten some really cool stories out of that. The one game I want to point out on the top is that Hangman and Tic-Tac-Toe card. It's a great way to start, but on the back of it is blank. But you can write on it. And so if you have that resident that's asking the same question over again, what we'll simply do is, where's Jane today? Jane's at school today, or Jane's with dad at home. You can turn that card around, and after a couple times, you kind of even point in that direction, you answer it. As they're asking the question, the muscle memory will start looking at that, and they can read. If they can read it, they'll read that card, and it almost can kind of minimize answering that question every 2 minutes while you're playing the games. It gives them that piece because they can look over there and read where Jane is. And that has been really helpful, especially on the one-on-one or small group setting, to kind of keep everybody on task with the games.
Okay. And then what about the numbered deck? The big green card with the 1 on it? How are those utilized?
So that there are 2 of each one of those cards, 1 to 6 in all different colors. So you can lay them down on, with just the backs up and play traditionally that game of concentration where you turn 2 cards over and you try to match them. That is more for the higher cognitive. And then at the other levels, you might just hold a green card and a red card up. If somebody has more of a moderate, and say, okay, can you point to the number 1 or point to the green card? Or if they're laying on the table face up, you might say, can you, point to the 2 green cards? And so you can simplify this game as much as you want. But these big, bold colors, and we've had 2 or 3 other ways to use these. And people are actually writing in and telling us this is how they're using it with a limited amount of cases we have out there. And then below that, you'll see on the right, the other 3 games. Those are for the mild to moderate stages where it's really simplified, not a lot of words, mostly graphical in nature.
Well, like I said, I was so impressed, and I still am. And I love the variety in here, and the simplicity of usage, of even how to use it, having the information on the back, like with the cards with the monuments, having those little details just to get the conversation going if it's not sparking right away, where it's not going to be intimidating for staff if maybe they don't know, what's what, or who's who. And even with the matchup, just being able to flip the card over to get your answers and then to be able to clean everything off. So kudos. Anything else you wanted to say about this? Otherwise, I'll take this down.
Yeah, you can take that down. I would say on the back of the cards, just, philosophically, when you play these games, it's really about the journey and not about who wins. Mm-hmm. And so just taking your time with these games and understand the absorption rate. It takes the average adult 7 seconds to understand what somebody said, process, and then verbalize a response to a question. Mm-hmm. That requires not, was it sunny yesterday? Mm-hmm. But so understand that processing time just slows down, and to be patient, and again, not worry about. We have people that mark their cards and do different things, but they're engaged to the level they can, and celebrate that, and laugh with that and smile with that, because of their joy and you're getting joy out of it. And we always say that we put guidelines in there, not rules. So on the back of all the cards, there's usually either a control card where the leader has, or on the back of the other cards where we can do it. We'll just give guidelines on how to optimize that game depending on the level of the resident that you're working with.
Okay. And how did you go about kind of vetting, the products inside so that you knew that it would be a good match when you went out to sell this to communities and things?
So it's a great question. It was a team effort inside our organization, but also reaching out to the facilities. We've been to facilities that are testing them on their own. We're going in and testing them. So we don't want to influence and come back with our own jaded, let's say, or bias just because, we love this game or that game. But we also have pushed it out to facilities and said, here's the training, tell us what you think and what games work for you and where and when. And that has really been highly impactful to us. We've come such a long way. I mean, the box was one thing. We only had 5 games. Now we have 15. We didn't have really multiple levels. Now we probably have you can go from a simply a typical all the way to a moderate level. I mean, the music goes beyond that, but essentially the bulk of the games can service that. So we've learned so much. And then also the conferences, and then the subject matter experts like you, Lori, that have taken the time and really given us, their decades of input on to what they've experienced and the thousands of people they've touched, and to get those reaction. And all those have just been melded into this. I'm not saying it'll never change again, because we're constantly listening and adding, and we already have another idea of what the next version will include. Mm-hmm.
So, when I look at kind of the difference between you and other activities that are out there, one, again, is just the quality of the construction of even the container and the usability of it. And you went through that kind of trial and error. You started in a box, which everybody did. The other thing that is out there are very expensive, high-tech technology games on wheels, but pricey. A lot of times subscriptions, people need a little bit more training, and things with all of that. And, I love even when you mentioned people are telling us how they're using it. So they're really taking these are guidelines, not rules, to heart in terms of teaching people to adapt. The rules aren't hard and fast. We're all coming from a different angle. And the goal is to engage and make memories and smiles with people. And so to me, that was a real constructive piece that says the staff are engaged enough to even play around with it. Because sometimes they're like, I'm just going to do my job and do it, and I'm going to get out of there. And that tells me they're not just doing it for that. they're really looking and they're really seeing those sparks in people's eyes and that engagement level and having some fun themselves and being part, which I think is huge in and of itself. The number of games and the diversity and the levels that you guys have gone to, I think is fantastic. And then adding in that music piece, if people want to tap into that, and you can have fun without doing that too,
Sure.
There really is a wide variety. And, your pricing I thought was extremely affordable, given the usability and the reusability, in terms of how you've constructed everything. I mean, it's there for the wear and the tear, for people.
Yeah, everything's built to last. You might have to change a marker out every now and then, but the core cards, and we have refill opportunities if people want that. Most of the games, like bingo, things like that, you can use those over again. It's just like 2 or 3 games you could probably add to it, and we'll have other things that'll come along. But it's been a lot of work by a lot of people, and the generosity of really this community of people that around memory care and around Alzheimer and dementia have just all chipped in. And so we can't just take the credit. And by far, I know I can't. It really is this contribution that people have had to make the people around their lives, better. And to your point, it's got to be our whole thing is in 3 minutes, you can play 2 or 3 of those games and get a resident or multiple residents engaged that quickly without training. And it's all in one kit. You don't have to run back and grab something. And my only thing on technology is technology definitely has its place. Mm-hmm. And it's just that, but sometimes this tactile component is very meaningful to people. Getting a marker and marking a card, that's an accomplishment for some of these folks that aren't doing it. And we have plenty of time where people have not done anything for months, and they hear gun smoke as one individual did. He's a retired physician, and his wife was there, and she dragged him down. And then we heard gun smoke. He literally took the marker from her and started marking his card. And he has yet to miss a session since then. And that was about 5 sessions ago. And so now we have about as many men as we do women. And the men, you could shoot a cannon through an activity center, and most of them, and we barely see the men. And they're starting to come out, and they're starting to be engaged. And we're just really excited about it. But the training piece to get everybody up to speed has just, it's all, we feel like it's all come together. And sorry, I was trying to make multiple points at the same time, but I just get excited when I start talking about it and when you see the impact there. And, unfortunately with HIPAA, you can't just throw around a film session and start getting in people and looking at them. And we're trying to find a way to illustrate this, and we'll indoctrinate that into some videos down the road, but in an incredible environment. Mm-hmm. So we'll see that down the road, but it's tricky. We want to be respectful of everybody.
Yep. Yeah. But it is, the other thing that we didn't really touch on, I kind of did with talking about playing this with my grandchildren, but it really is intergenerational. So, I mean, you can get all different levels participating in this. So even if a family wanted to come into a community and ask, can we use the MemaRang, for engagement, mm-hmm. just for us, I think most communities would be open to that. I mean, you really can't wreck it, right. And so that's another beautiful piece. But the engagement, like you said, the tactile, that stuff is so important. It's just so incredibly important. And I think COVID really brought that out even more so. How much people need to be engaged. They need to have contact. They need to feel purposeful and accomplished and accepted. And your games do all of that in a really fun fashion.
Well, thank you. And we feel like when the facility is recording the family members, just the resident, to send to family members because they wouldn't believe the level of engagement they have. where people have just been non-responsive for months. And now this one individual was rolling the die, marking his card, and actually he sang some songs with us. But the thing was, when we played roll and share and asked him who his best friend was, he yelled out, it was Charlie, and nobody could believe it. I mean, we were like, what? And they were just amazed. And then they talked to his daughter, and that was validated. It was really a very, very special moment. And how can we put something out there that this can happen thousands of times over and over every week? Why not?
Exactly. So what have you personally learned and as a company learned through this journey of developing this product?
Well, I think a few things. I mean, there's so much out there today that from Alzheimer's or dementia from 5 years ago we didn't know. And then, so how do we catch up to that? And then the other thing is, don't discount the will of people and the emotional connection that they want to others around them. You study blue zones, and the single biggest factor of why people live longer is the connection to other people. And you have to, if you can build those bridges of connection or provide tools for others to do that, it's the human element. I mean, it's really what keeps us going and driving it, because we have no connection. It's very difficult to motivate yourself every day in and day out. And so that piece is really what we've learned from the reading and the people around us. And the one thing about this industry is so many people, they just care. They care, and when you dig down, they're feeling it. And a lot of them are under pain or stress and anxiety because they feel like they want to do more, but they've pushed themselves even to the limit or beyond already. And so what can you do to give them some level of relief, whether in game structure or in letting a volunteer do that and take a little bit of time because we are short-staffed or whatever that might be? Those are the pieces that we just continually try to better understand. And I'm not suggesting we're masters of it at all, but we're just trying to contribute and be a part of this that so many people are.
Yeah, I agree. The connections is so important. The care, and I think there's also this other component of share. And you gave employees and people like myself the opportunity to share our knowledge, and I think people appreciate being asked, what do you think, how can we improve this, and actually being heard. It's not just a tickler because it has to be on, this isn't a test, and so we have to do this to be politically correct, but you're really doing this to learn and to make the best possible product you can, and people want to give what they know if they think it's going to help, and to me that collaboration pushes us forward so much faster. And on the connection portion, I will just say, my mom lived with dementia for 30 years, and from day one I have screamed from the rooftops that I think my mom lived as long as she did because she felt connected. And yet we have very few studies on that, in terms of all the other things that are out there. And yet that is something that doesn't have to cost us money. It's something that that people want to know how to do even. And it's nice to see some of those are ticking up and being taken more seriously nowadays too, because I just believe so heavily in that social engagement piece. And I think that overlaps any of us in this world. When we feel disconnected, we're not happy here.
Right. Yeah. And that, you're holding it. We're finding that evidence in all this virtual world, working virtually and whatnot. It works for some people, but some people, they need that connection even more than others because they don't have it. The work is their connection. And those people that are there. And there's a strong parallel into the residents. And when the residents have the family that are stopping by all the time and connected and calling them and FaceTiming them, there's that connection. There's that engagement. The others that don't, I've been in some facilities where it's been months since somebody's been there, and that's common and more common than we'd like. And it's just very difficult. Families move and, that person is, 1,000 miles away and they refuse to leave, and there they are. And here you are. And so what can you do? And so that's where technology can help. But also, these other tools. So balancing all of that is so important. But we definitely support. We were with the technology company a couple of weeks ago, and love what they have, and they really appreciate what we have. And you see some, and it could be the same individual. Technology may work one day and not another. You just have to be open, and at the end of the day, if you're all after the same goal, and you're all working towards the same goal, you can collaborate, because this is a tidal wave coming in. It's not just today's issue. It is growing exponentially. 20, 30 years from now, we're going to have double, triple what we have today. And we've got to prepare ourselves either in pushing it out, slowing it down, or ultimately preventing, if we can. And until that happens, what are the tools that we can do that can enhance those that are experiencing it?
Well, I just give kudos to you and your organization. I just think you did a heck of a job. And to me, this is really a home run, what you've put together here. I think it is, there's just so many possibilities when you open that case in different ways to engage. And I think you just did a brilliant job in packaging and the training, everything. It's just wonderful. So I wish you nothing but the best on this. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, they can go to your website, memarang.com. That's memarang.com. Or they can email you as well at Sean, and that's SEAN at, and then his company name, Geehan, GEEHAN group.com. And is it okay to give out a phone number as well?
Sure.
Okay. So I have 937-271-3914. And don't be shy about checking them out. Like I said, I think it's absolutely fabulous. Now, if companies are interested, in one case, I would imagine there's a price, and then do you have kind of like an industry price if somebody wants to, has multiple organizations that they are interested in getting this product for?
Right. If you're going to order 10, I would just go to the site. But if you're looking at 10 for or more, you definitely just give us a call, and we've got some tiered pricing. We do have we're building a more complex site right now that'll have all of that. At the end of the day, we're really targeting assisted living, memory care, and those are two facilities that we're really focusing on. And then on the home care, private duty market, we think that this is a great kit to take into somebody, because it's only one kit, various levels that you can take in. And so if you're in any of those markets and you can test it out, we are actually, we're launching officially the product. We've done all this. We've done some sales where people have used it and whatnot, but this is Lori, this is our official announcement that we're going to market. It's on your show, and we are just thrilled. So officially we start selling these things on March 7th. I mean, they're available, but think about it as the soft opening for a restaurant. But on March 7th, we hit the ground running, and everything's open and ready to go. So we thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our story. And again, call us anytime. We're happy to talk to you. And hopefully, if you order it, you'll see the impact. And we'd love to get your feedback, regardless of what it is.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. Keep us posted on how things are going. Like you said, I'm a big fan.
All right. Thank you, Lori. Really appreciate it. And you do a fabulous job. And it's really helped me get up to speed to the degree I can in a couple of years.
Well, thank you. And to our listeners, please like, click, and share. And like I said, don't be shy. Go to the website. Check it out. I think you'll be as impressed as I was. Bye now.
It's time to rethink. renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now, this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.